Hi guys, it's Allie from Geek and Faerie Tarot, and I am here to bring you your forecast for the month of September 2018. So this month I've decided to use my Pokebox Tarot, which is a Pokemon themed tarot deck. It is gorgeous. I think because I've had a lot of Pokemon Go adventures over the last month or so, I have Pokemon on the brain, and so I really love this deck, and I thought it would be perfect to bring it out for September. So let's get right to it. So card number one is the Five of Wands. Now here in this card we see five little timber Pokemon looking a little bit miffed with each other. There doesn't seem to be a lot of construction going on. That's what these little guys do. They hang around construction sites, and you often see them participating in building things, and that is not really what's happening in this card right now. We see a lack of constructive efforts this month. That's what we're bringing into the month, by the way. We're starting the month off this way, bringing in some conflict. So ask yourself if the conflict is coming from within. Are you having an internal conflict, or are you perhaps having conflict with others? So that's the first question you want to ask yourself, is where is the conflict coming from and what can we do about it? We'll get to that with the cards that come up next. So because Timber is sort of a baby Pokemon, it's sort of the lowest evolution form of this Pokemon type, I get the sense from this card that there's a little bit of immaturity, that we're not really approaching this kind of with all cylinders. Maybe we're kind of being more reactive from an emotional standpoint, or maybe we're being a bit lazy perhaps. That's why we're not being constructive. But there's this lack, there seems to be a little bit of lack of maturity, maybe some petty squabbles getting in the way of being constructive, some distractions. As I said, maybe we're being a little bit more emotionally reactive than thinking things through and having a solid plan. The other thing this could mean is that we're searching for kind of the easy route, the easy way, and so maybe the conflict is we're fighting with a project to get it off the ground because we're not really giving it our best effort and it keeps falling apart, and that's because it doesn't really have a good solid foundation. Which brings me to card number two, which is the Four of Wands reversed. So we're having the conflict of the five and we're kind of moving backwards to the four reversed, which definitely implies that there isn't any stable foundation. So we're building on something that is bound to collapse, which isn't good. This is our challenge card this month. That's kind of giving us a heads up, like if you keep going this route, if you keep the struggle going and perpetuating it, it's gonna collapse. You're gonna miss out on celebrating those milestones that you're trying to achieve. If you're if there's some kind of celebration or gathering that you have planned, it's probably likely going to be delayed or canceled. And that's because we're not planning. Our thoughts and our processes we're kind of acting before we think. We need to have a better plan, build those foundations, and get a better plan. So what is our advice other than just have a better plan? The card number three is the Knight of Pentacles. So what does he have to say to us? So here we have the little Chikorita on the top, and his steed is the Terrakion Pokemon. So we have a leaf Pokemon and we have a rock Pokemon. So right off the bat, to me, this says we need to get grounded. We need to take a step back, because you can see there's no movement. They're kind of standing there, they're observing, they're not moving. We need to take a step back and we need to be more objective. We need to find our bearings first before we can go any further. Otherwise, whatever it is that we're working on or who we're working with is sort of destined for failure at this point. So we got to turn it around. We need to become the Knight of Pentacles. We need to stop. We need to look around at our environment. We need to identify what is there, what is it about our plan or the environment that is, where is the conflict coming from? What can we change? How can we rearrange things? How can we see things from a different perspective? We need to start to be grounded, practical, and resourceful. How can we calm our minds? There's a couple Pokemon here about calming and serenity. So we have the Chikorita, who's got a leaf, and one of its abilities is to create this very calming aroma. And same with this card too. If you can see in the center are a couple of rosalias, however you say that, I'm not sure. But they have little flowers on their limbs, and they also give off this scent that inspires this calming state and serenity. So that's the place we want to be. That's the solution. That is the action forward. So if we're trying to find the easy route because maybe we don't have all the resources, we need to scale back our plan a little bit, use those resources more wisely, or have maybe lower our expectations so that we avoid disappointment. That's the story this month. That's what I got from these 3 cards. So start off, we have the Timbers who aren't getting along. Things are not being very constructive. There might be some conflict. We're either fighting with ourselves, other people, or we're fighting with a project. And maybe that's because we're fighting with ourselves or other projects. The challenge is, things are not on solid footing. They're not stable. They're almost bound to collapse if we keep going this route. So we need to get our bearings in check, take stock, look around, get some perspective, figure out a better plan, be more resourceful, more practical, so that we can avoid disappointment. And as usual, I have pulled a card from the Good Tarot to give us an affirmation for the month ahead. And this month I drew the Tower. So remember what I was talking about you're building something that isn't on solid ground, doesn't have good foundations, it's bound to collapse. And that's sort of what the Tower is telling us here. So I'm going to read from the book. Things happen really fast when this card shows up in a reading. Its appearance could portend a total paradigm shift or a sudden upheaval that takes something away in order for something better to take its place. It could be that I've had an epiphany. Whatever it is, this card tells me unexpected events will be very interesting and offer opportunities for positive transformation if I remain present with my eyes open. So I feel like with my eyes open goes back to this Knight of Pentacles. Here he is just sitting back and observing. So it might be that the collapse was very much part of the plan all along. Things need to be torn down so that better things can take their place. Part of our higher power was that it was a lesson we had to learn, and while those walls come crumbling down, there are always gems to be found in the rubble, and that's what we were meant to seek. Sometimes we get so focused, we have like blinders on, and we think that our plan has to go exactly according to plan, and we're kind of honed in on the specific way that we think we need, to be happy in a certain area. We have to have this job or this person in our life, or it has to go this way specifically or I won't be happy. And I think that's what the lesson with these 2 cards is kind of reminding us, is that we need to stop and look around. There's more to the side than just where we have our eyes on. It's so easy to attach ourselves to a certain outcome that we forget that it's not the thing we want, it's the feeling we want from it. For example, it's not that specific person that we have a crush on that we really want. What we really want is to be in a happy, stable, healthy relationship. That's what we really want. We don't want, we get attached to this job or this career, but what we really want is a fulfilling career that pays the bills. That's what we really want. It really doesn't matter how we get it, and we forget that. That's where those blinders come in. We get so focused on the thing that we forget what we really want is the feeling that we think we're gonna get from that thing. So I wish you guys all a great September. Just remember to stay grounded this month. I think that's the most important thing to remember. And until next time, stay shiny and keep sparkling.